When I was 20, I worked for an organization that had mandatory team building days. These events that are meant to cultivate trust and connection with individuals and between teams. Well, these events are my worst nightmare. At one event, I was put into a dyad where I had to hold the face of a partner while staring into their eyes for 5 minutes and observing my internal state. I was paired with a stranger from a different division, a weathered looking man in his late 50s who I will never forget. Afraid to say no, I placed my hands on his face, and for the next 5 minutes, I was gripped with fear as the seconds ticked by like hours, and I wished to be anywhere but there. When the day was over, I could not get home fast enough. Jumping into bed, I curled into a ball, crying and shaking with disgust and fear. You see, as a child, I was a victim of sexual abuse. And at 20, I could barely bring myself to hug family or friends, let alone touch the face of a strange man while staring into his eyes. Because of my history, this event, meant to cultivate trust and care, re-traumatized me. And this re-traumatization has stayed like a nightmare in my body for over 2 decades. While this is my story, I am not alone. According to the National Institute of Health, 1 in 4 children will experience some form of abuse in their lifetime. This presents a unique challenge for teachers of secular meditation, as meditation practices, much like team building activities, notoriously have an inward focus and heightened awareness of emotions, which, if not handled appropriately, can lead to re-traumatization nightmares. As meditation is being explored at greater rates in secular spaces where there is no capacity to know whether a person has a trauma history or if they have the inner resources to endure these practices without harm, it becomes increasingly important to address the question, how can we teach in such a way as to be sensitive to the potential for igniting nightmares? As a result of my life experience, academic knowledge, and personal history, trauma-informed teaching is a high priority in the work that I do. And I am passionate about sharing this with others. For this reason, I have 6 trauma-informed considerations that I'm going to share, which teachers of secular meditation can use to minimize the potential for harm with our students. First, we must consider the spaces we create physically and emotionally. It's essential to let participants know that they are in control and are allowed to stop and leave or not participate in anything at any time for any reason without any question. Additionally, we want to consider the layout of the room or the online space. The option for participants to easily exit a room or keep cameras off if they choose, and the overall ambiance of the environment. Second, it's important to clarify the purpose and the scope of the group, offering transparency and clear boundaries. Predictability in what participants can and should expect of you, the teacher, each other, and the group as a whole can be an effective stabilizing factor for those with a trauma history. Third, before practicing, we should educate participants about common reactions to meditation, including the possibility of experiencing uncomfortable emotions or memories. Normalizing these experiences can reduce fear or surprise if they arise. As well, we should offer a menu of stabilizing techniques which can help participants stay connected to the present moment. Things such as focusing on the breath, opening the eyes, feeling the feet on the ground, or engaging the 5 senses are all useful techniques to anchor a person in the practice rather than a memory. Fourth, language matters. We can use language that is gentle, inviting, and non-directive, and avoid language that commands or implies that there is a right way to experience meditation. Phrases like "you might choose to" or "if it feels safe for you" can create a more inclusive and accepting space. Additionally, we want to avoid oversharing or an overemphasis on negative emotions or trauma, which can also be triggers, directing a person's mind towards their trauma rather than the practice. Fifth, we can build resilience gradually, starting with shorter, more basic practices and building up to longer or more intensive forms of meditation. This technique allows participants to slowly develop their capacity for mindfulness and self-regulation without becoming overwhelmed. And lastly, It is crucial to remember that meditation is not a therapy. It's a method of recognizing awareness and being with reality as it is. Although many people come to meditation because they are in search of emotional or psychological healing, and this can be an outcome, overpromising or misrepresenting the practice can lead to unmet expectations and drive participants away from the practice rather than toward it. If the preceding 5 steps have been successful, likely there won't be a need for intervention elsewhere. But it can be useful still to educate ourselves about places to refer people should they express a need for support in ways that extend beyond the meditation space. While these 6 considerations are protective, they are by no means exhaustive. As teachers, we should seek out opportunities for growth, and our own practice and continuing education are imperative for this. While we may believe that what we teach is for everyone, we must remember that teaching is not about what we believe. It's always about what our students need most. When we teach with this sensitivity, we make meditation more accessible and enhance our potential to transform nightmares into a stable reality.